Hello, people of Resonate. Welcome to the Help Musicians booth. Really delighted to be part of the kind of conference this year under really difficult kind of circumstances. I hope you're able to take a lot from the discussion from the services that Help Musicians can offer. Here with my colleague Jane from the Health and Welfare team. So before we kind of get started and talk about that service, Jane, could you just introduce yourself and tell us, tell the people of Resonate who you are and kind of what you do.
Okay, hi, my name's Jane. I work in the Health and Welfare team at Help Musicians. I've been there for about a year now. My previous roles, I used to work in the music industry for a very long time. I used to work for a record company, and I used to work in in radio. So I'm very familiar with musicians and have worked in that industry for a long time. Following that, I did a psychology degree, and I decided to go into social work for a bit as well. So I did that. My role now of a health and welfare officer is just fantastic for me because it brings all my skills from within the music industry and social work.
That's brilliant. So could you for those who don't know about the kind of service and how it works, could you tell us about how the health and welfare service works in the charity?
Sure. So we, at the Health and Welfare team, we help musicians with lots of issues, to be honest. I mean, it can be financial, they could be in debt, it could be well-being, so they could be a physical health issue, a mental health issue. We help working musicians, retired musicians, so we do the length and breadth of the musician world. Everything is on a case-by-case basis. So a musician can ring up and we can, depending on what their issue is, we would ask them to fill out a form. So we're able to establish exactly what their issue is and whether we can help or not. Like I say, it can be a wide range of issues. Do you want me to expand on that?
I think, yeah, what's maybe even some of the more kind of common ones that maybe come through, it's coming at you guys on a more regular basis then, what's some of the more common ones?
I guess the most common issue at the moment, obviously, is what's going on at the moment because of the pandemic. We're finding a lot of musicians in financial problems. Obviously they're not gigging, they're not getting paid, so they're having to rely on government benefits, and some musicians fall through the gap. So we're having to provide quite long-term financial payments to them to just get them through this pandemic, to be honest. So I would say that's the most common issue at the moment. Previous to that, I would say that, we get a lot of for instance, you may need someone that needs counselling for whatever issue, the mental health issue that they're going through. So we can provide counselling. It depends on their issue, but obviously what we would require them to do, if they meet our criteria, we would ask them to contact the British Association for Performing Arts Medicine, BAPAM as we call it. And they would go through an initial assessment with them, and providing BAPAM agree, because they're our clinical advisors, so we need someone to make sure that they're getting the right help that they need. So once we've had that okay from BAPAM and the beneficiary is happy to go through with counselling, we can provide some sessions, we can pay for those sessions, we can fund those sessions for them. And depending on how long their issue goes on for, we can think about funding that for quite some time.
Excellent. And so because you're saying there that everything's done on that kind of case-by-case kind of basis, what is there a time frame for when people could get support, or is it just really dependent on that need at the time?
It depends on their need, you know. I mean, we could have someone that, for instance, say a guitarist broke their arm and they have an assessment with BAPAM, and then we fund their physiotherapy. That could last for 12 weeks and they'd be fine, go back to work or whatever. But then they could have another issue again. Maybe their mental health is affected by something, so they can come back to us and then we can consider counselling as well. You know, there could be an issue where they need to move house. So, and they don't have the money for the rent, the month's rent deposit and the first month's rent. So we can provide that too. There's many issues that we can help with, and they can sort of come to us whenever an issue arises.
Yeah, I think one of the I think when people find out about the kind of charity and the breadth of that support, you know, it's just how wide and how specific you can go to support someone in their need. So could you maybe tell us a bit about some of the kind of, you know, nuts and bolts costs, like the living costs that we would be able to pay for to maybe stop somebody from hitting that destitution point, like you said, if they're falling through the kind of gaps? What's some of the kind of, like, you know, bills that, for example, we could help intervene to help them with to basically stop them hitting that destitution point?
I think, you know, for instance, obviously at the moment that's a really big issue because of the pandemic. But yeah, I mean, you know, basically we would ask someone to fill in our form and we would need to know their financial details. We would ask for 3 months bank statements. We would ask for for them to tell us all the income that's coming into them. And then we can offer them support. Well, taking the pandemic, we can offer them support right up until March at the moment for living expenses. I mean, as a charity, we don't help with debt, but that's another beauty of the charity as well. We're really we're up on you know, all the other support that's out there for people as well, because obviously we do help musicians a lot, but we can't be everything to everybody, and we have to know where to signpost people as well. So we have a good knowledge of the other places out there which help them. So for instance, if someone is in debt, we don't pay off their debts for them, but we can signpost them to a place like Step Change that can work out a payment plan for all their debts, etc. So you know, we're on where to signpost people as well. But you know, we can help people out, you know, if they're having issues with their income, we can help them out for a certain amount of time. Obviously the pandemic, this is a totally different ball game at the moment, so we're helping out until March, until we know how things pan out then. But yeah, that's what we can do.
Excellent. I think is so when someone kind of signs up to this type of help, they go through the process, like you said, they have documentation and stuff that they have to kind of provide. I understand as well that if the individual in question, the individual applicant in question, can get you this information, we can turn around that support, you know, relatively.
Yeah. It might feel a bit intrusive to someone when we ask for their bank details and stuff, but it's just that we have to make a fair estimate of what income is coming in for a person, because, you know, we have many beneficiaries. So we have to tailor-made personalise their plan, but also make sure that it's fair in what we do, because obviously we have many beneficiaries on our books. So and we have to know how to signpost people to other places as well. You know, for instance, if they're a member of the PRS are a charity that also help people. If they play any kind of instrument, they can apply to the Royal Society of Musicians as well. So, you know, we have to balance it so that we're being able to distribute the funds fairly and where people need it most.
Yeah. So when somebody comes in, they're getting that initial kind of financial support. They've been referred to kind of BAPAM, and BAPAM are looking at whatever those kind of ongoing health issues is, and they're assessing what support's kind of there. So once all that's kind of in place, there's follow-up support, isn't there? It's not just like, okay, there's some money, see you later. there's a continuing, there's a relationship, I'd imagine, especially with your side, Jane, the work you do.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. I think, sometimes it can be a really simple case, whereas somebody just needs 12 weeks physiotherapy, and then they're off and they're back to work and we don't see them for a bit. But then, there can be instances where people, life is life, things happen, and people come back to us. And so we'll do, when allowed, obviously we can't do this at the moment, but we will visit people at home to go and find out more about their circumstances. And we by doing that, we're able to deepen the relationship with the musician and also see where else they might need help. And, because they may not have discussed some things, they may not have wanted to. And I think as the relationship gets better, they can reveal. And actually, we may be able to help where they haven't mentioned something. We may be able to do something about that. So I think that, we try and develop a good relationship with the musicians as well, just to find out, we can also do, there's been instances where musicians have been, say, terminally ill, and we've been able to assist them for the rest of their life to make sure they're comfortable. So, there's lots we can do as well. In many different areas, if somebody's terminally ill or they've got an ongoing illness, we can support them.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And I believe with the terminal illness, you're able to kind of support their families for a little bit as well.
Exactly. Yeah, we're able to we're able to help with funeral costs. We're able to help. Unfortunately, if that happens, but we're able to help with that. We're able to help their spouses. There's the relationship is a sort of, can be a very long-term one with a beneficiary, and unfortunately, if they do happen to have an illness that is ongoing, we're able to assist with that. We also have a volunteering befrienders service as well that visits musicians, make sure they're okay, sort of like a check-in. So yeah, we do a lot.
100%. And so you kind of mentioned there, with kind of life and stuff happening. So can somebody get back in touch again if they've already had support in the past? What's the kind
Absolutely. We of course they can. They can always approach us about anything really, and if we're able to help, we will. But obviously, we have to signpost them to other areas as well. If it's an ongoing issue that is going to go on for quite a while, we can help, but we can also signpost.
Excellent. And so that's thanks a lot for that, Jane, because that is a really kind of deep dive into really complex work that you guys are doing. Not every case is the same. It's not a one size fits all kind of approach and stuff. And something that you kind of mentioned earlier, we help support with kind of counselling. And if you're looking at the kind of news and the kind of data around, the mental health, especially with people being affected with the current pandemic and stuff, we have Music Minds Matter, which is 24/7 mental health support. So I wonder if you had any chance you can maybe give somebody a rough outline of how that service works and how it can complement the work that you guys do as well.
Yeah, I mean, we when an inquiry comes in and we're able to help them, whether it could be a financial issue, we always will mention that we have the Music Mind Matters service, and we will always send them an email with that link and that phone number. It's a 24/7 service. They're able to access that service to maybe consider online counselling. We do, they can give support around debt as well, and financial issues, and CBT as well. But also, if it turns out that the person needs a longer term counselling, and that they want a more one-to-one tailored service, they're able, Music Minds Matters are then able to refer them back to us we can then go through the process, refer to BAPAM, and we can then pay for maybe longer term counselling. So it's a good service to know that it's there. I mean, it's 24/7. We always put, whenever we answer any inquiries, we always let people know that that service is up and running. And, you know, especially over holidays and Christmas and things like that, if people are feeling sort of any sort of loneliness or anxiety, they're able to contact that line, which I think is a lifeline at the moment as well in the pandemic, because I think that's bringing out a lot of issues of isolation and loneliness.
And it's a clinic team at the other end.
Sorry, I didn't hear that, David.
Sorry, it's at the other end of the Music Minds Matter, the team who are delivering that for the charity, they're clinically trained practitioners.
Yes, they're clinically trained for sure, so you're in safe hands.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, and again, one of the things as well that, you know, we kind of say with Music Minds Matter, you just described there about that support, and especially at that kind of crisis point for a lot of people. But if somebody's maybe not at the crisis point, they can still phone it for that. If they just feel they need somebody to talk to, that, like that listening ear, if you will, if they just, you know, that's also quite in demand as well, isn't it, for people that are maybe not at the crisis point and they're just needing somebody to speak to?
Yeah, I think so. And I you know, I definitely think the pandemic is bringing issues like that out more and more. So that helpline is, you know, just fantastic that we have that. Excellent. You know, so I think it's also really comforting to think that it is a helpline for musicians. So they're able to go there and know that people are understanding their issues, even though they're issues of many, loneliness and anxiety and isolation at the moment. But I think it's quite comforting to know that there is a helpline for musicians.
100%, and the core of the kind of work that you do in the service, the charity's kind of doing. We described it there for the professionals that are, we say, the professional musicians, more than half their income's coming from their musical activity. They have to, you know, when there's a process, we ask for kind of proof of that kind of income, and that is the kind of case. There'll be a lot of people that kind of resonate who are maybe at the students and are maybe, you know, maybe just entering their musical education, or they're maybe just about to leave and start their journey, or they're in their musical education and also starting to work in the kind of industries. Is there anything there you could talk about, maybe the support that we have for maybe students and those emerging musicians? Is there anything you could?
Yeah, for emerging musicians, we are also able to help them out with any wellbeing issues. I think it's £1,000 grant now that we can offer them. It was $750, but I think it's gone up. Where we're able to assist them either with a physical wellbeing issue or a mental wellbeing issue, so that we're able to support them in that way as well. And I think that's another invaluable service. You know, for an up and coming musician to have that support, that's good to know, really.
Yeah, and especially
because I think it can be a daunting industry to go into. And sometimes, and I think that you know, it's nice to know that there is that help, whether that be practical, physical, mental, you know, that there's the advice out there.
Yeah.
And I also think with our creative funds, you know, if anyone's applying for that, I'm not a specialist in our creative funds, but there's the advice there to help you. I think I have my colleague coming up who can tell you about that. But, you know, it's just, I think it's really great that out there. I mean, in my previous role, you know, in working in the music industry, when I did in a record company, I never saw that support within the record company. And, you know, I didn't know about Help Musicians for ages. So it's really good to know. And wherever I can, I will spread the word about that, because I think it can be an industry where you can feel a bit on your own sometimes, if you're a musician, you know. And actually employees in the record company as well.
100%, and I think like the work that what I say in my role and kind of outreach and letting people know about the services and stuff like that is like when people phone and they're making that call, they're over the other end of that kind of call or the other end of that email, as a team who are they're doing everything they can to help. So
Yeah.
some of those questions might seem invasive, but they're doing it because they want to help you, and they're motivated. You've got all the kind of help that's kind of available. Well, I think, Jane, that's us. We've took a real nice kind of deep dive into the health and welfare kind of offer. Thank you very much for your time and for all the hard work that you, yourself and the team do. I know there's a lot of musicians up here in Scotland that are really grateful for the support, and it's really been, had such a, life impact, kind of impact on this stuff.
Can I just say one other thing as well? I think an important bit I missed is that we can also be a bit of we're not an advocacy service, but we can help someone, say, if they're having issues with housing, etc. We're able to approach other organisations for you, whether that be someone like Shelter, whether that be like the local authority, or point you in that direction. So we're able to, give you some bridges to go to, so you're not alone. Even if we can't completely solve it for you, we're able to point you in the right direction as well.
That's all, especially in the current climate, the housing crisis and stuff like that, all that type of support. And I think it says a lot for the charity that we're able to kind of work in partnership and collaboration with those other organisations who are doing amazing work and difficult circumstances as well. Well, I tell you what, I think that's a nice way to kind of end it. So thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Take care out there.
Hello again, people of Resonate. It is really great to be part of this unique online event that the team's doing. I think it's awesome they've managed to pull together this event under really difficult circumstances, and we're really proud to be a part of it. And hopefully you can really gain a lot of insight on how Help Musicians can help you with your career at depending on what stage you're at. So I'm here with my colleague Barnaby for the creative programme. Hi Barnaby.
Hello, how are you doing?
Awesome to have you here, and it's a shame we can't have you up in person in Scotland. We'll always be next to you. First of all, so earlier on in the discussion, we spoke to our colleague Jane, who is on the health and welfare side of the charity and the work that they do. So it'd be great to kind of find out a bit about your role in the creative programme and what creative programme does. So if you want to tell us a bit about that, that'd be a good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So the creative programme is the project funding side of the charity. So musicians come to us with an application, with a self-directed project, which is really the beauty of funding, because unlike a typical radio record label deal, with funding you're able to really sort of carve your own path and choose your own sort of collaborators and really make your vision happen. And we have a variety of different schemes for different needs. We have one for sort of learning, we have one for collaborating with non-musical disciplines. I'll talk about that a bit further, but really Help Musicians' mission with creative funding is to enable sustainable and healthy careers within music. And as Jane would have told you a bit about the Health and Welfare Service, with the creative programme service as well, we aim to sort of instill that same ethos of health and well-being within music careers.
That's awesome. And so I understand you're part of a wider team in the creative programme. So what's your role within that team?
Sure. So I'm creative programme officer in the creative programme team. So it's my job really to design and deliver the programs and the schemes. So I personally work over the Mobile Help Musicians Fund, which is just closed. It just closed on Monday, and the Transmission Fund, which closed on the same date. So obviously, Mobile Help Musicians Fund is our collaboration, our partnership with the Mobo Trust. So we're helping support artists working within the music of Black origin, so genres associated with the awards ceremony with Mobo. And the Transmission Fund, which is learning and development, so helping people hone their craft, learn new skills within music, to add another string to their bow, so to speak.
Excellent. So just to kind of, I've got the privilege of kind of working across health and welfare and the kind of creative team, and all the projects that come in, although the fund is say for like Transmissions or Learning and Development Fund, the opportunities are so different to what some people kind of maybe apply for. Do you have any examples? So maybe tell the Transmission, which is our learning fund, what are some of the things that have been funded in the past? Because pre-COVID, that would have been international travel, so that was some really amazing projects that we've seen were getting supported. I wonder if you could maybe tell us some of that stuff.
Absolutely. Well, I think the beauty of Help Musicians is it's such a wide open sort of spectrum of musician types, musician backgrounds. Doesn't matter where you're from or what point in your career you're at, as long as you justify a case for which you will see the maximum impact, being that it increases your sustainability as a musician. We will fund it and we will help you realise that vision. So we've got many different success stories, and of course they're all kind of unique in their way, but we've got Walk Disco, who came through did some really interesting work pre-COVID. We've got Tawaya, who just received 2 SAMAS awards as well, and she received our Fusion Fund, which is a collaborative fund, so it helps you collaborate with non-musical disciplines. So say if you wanted to sort of collaborate with a puppeteer maker, or a scientist, or a choreographer, or a videographer, it helps you kind of break down those barriers between art disciplines. We've got Matthew Whiteside, who came through our Transmission Fund as a composer. He really sort of honed his skills by doing a masterclass with a composer he looked up to, and has done really well since. Transmission Fund can offer grants of up to £1,500 to help you develop your craft. And we've had a musician called Brown Bear come through our Mobile Help Musicians Fund, and that was a COVID-19 round, so specifically designed to help you navigate the new landscape. So no touring, but kind of looking at the opportunities that can still happen. So live streaming, digital releases, helping you build your digital presence in this new landscape. And Constant Follower as well, the same sort of thing, where he received a Do It Differently COVID-19 round of funding, and has gone from strength to strength ever since as well. I believe he's just signed to a record label after getting his Do It Differently fund as well. So all really, really good musicians who have kind of used our funding as a springboard for their careers, and have gone from strength to strength since.
Yeah, that's really great to kind of see that, and for us in the Scotland office, it's really awesome to see that kind of development from those people across those different kind of genres, from classical to electronic or disco and the rock and pop side of stuff. It's really kind of cool. So the Do It Differently fund, we make no thing about this being our most in-demand fund. So you mentioned about some of the people that have been funded through that. So could you maybe tell folk who don't know about Do It Differently a bit about the fund? And this is our most competitive fund, I believe, isn't it, out of all the...
That's right. Yeah, we take that as a real compliment, really. A former colleague of mine designed the fund, was kind of the architect of it, and he went all over the UK, meeting musicians in roundtables in each region, from each background, and really understanding what it is that independent musicians want and need. And the best way to do that is to ask them. So as a result, Do It Differently came to being, and it offers £3,000 of grant support, but it also offers business mentorship as well. So you don't just get the grant, you get, you know, experts to help you navigate and deliver your project as the best you can. And we also have health and wellbeing suite as well. So you're offered, you know, an allocation of money and help toward building a healthy career in music, which of course is our kind of specialty, if you like. So we team up with BAPAM, an organisation called BAPAM, who help us deliver consultations, who help people do healthy practicing, healthy touring when that's available, and do webinars. We also have a partnership with FAC, so they're the Featured Artist Coalition. So we give you a fully subsidised years-long pro membership to them as well, and they can help with stuff like legal things and contracts, and you're part of a little community of artists and musicians. So yeah, we think it's a really full sort of package. We call it a triangle of support, which hopefully covers each angle of your career and helps you build that sustainability.
Yeah, I think it's a great fund, and it's, you know, the artists and the musicians that are, you know, getting these funds. It does seem to really help them with that kind of going up to that next kind of level and moving the dial for them.
For sure.
Positive direction. So for people that's maybe watching this and they're maybe familiar with applying for funding and stuff, what would you say? Is there any kind of advice that we can kind of give people? Because I feel, and I may be biased because I work for the charity, I feel our applications are really user friendly as well. They're not as big and as clunky as some trust and foundation applications.
Yeah.
So would you say there's any tips there we can give people for filling in?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. And I agree. We try to make it as easy as possible for people. The first thing to know, you know, we're not trying to lay traps for anyone. We want to make it an easy experience. You do the music, you know, we do the admin. You're not supposed to, you know, have like a degree in arts admin to get it, or be great at writing essays or whatever.
Yeah.
But the key is to relay and give us that detail. So if you want to do a project, if you want to record, release, promote, tell us who these people are that you want to collaborate with, and really justify why these people are the right decision for you. And give us names, rates, dates, give us all those kinds of details. You know, maybe these collaborators are the best in their fields. Maybe they have a particular resonance with your musical community. Maybe they, are just the right fit for your project. Maybe they're great in your genre and stuff. So really justifying why they're the right decision, and you just using the allocation you have, which is, you know, 300 to 500 words, or you can do a video application if words aren't your thing, if written assessment isn't your thing as well. So communication is key, really, and making sure your online profile is up to date as well is a key thing, because that's what we look at. Yeah.
Awesome. And see, with the budgeting kind of aspect of that as well, again, I think the way our budget side is really kind of laid out, again, super kind of user friendly. From what we've kind of seen and from the feedback we've kind of given people, the budget side can kind of trip people up at that kind of last hurdle.
Yeah.
So is there any kind of stuff for people should just look out for when they're doing those kind of budgets?
For sure, yeah. So what we tend to say is we want the budget to balance. So what we mean by that, it has to all sort of add up. So if you're asking for £3,000, you're of course do it differently. Is that £3,000 incoming? So 3,000 you're spending, 3,000 is incoming. So it all has to balance. Yeah, and keeping it simple as well. And again, giving us this detail. And the way the budget is formatted is you put the amounts, you put the notes, and you put the item as well. So making sure you kind of tell us where the budget, where our funding is being allocated, and where, you know, maybe your funding will be in there, or maybe a funding from another body will be put in. We want to see where each part is going. Giving us the whole picture as well. Some people ask about that. Should I just include what the fund is going going toward, or should I include the whole project? Show us the whole project. Tell us each and every aspect of it, because, like I say, detail is key. That's the key aspect of things as well. Yeah.
And for someone's hiring musicians, how favourable is it that they pay the proper rates?
Yeah, well, us at Help Musicians, yeah, we like paying musicians, you know, a fair rate. So what we do is we quote our friends at MU who do a really good, and this is actually hyperlinked in our application form as well, so you don't have to go digging for it. We actually have this PDF on the application form of MU rates. So live rates and performance rates, rehearsal rates, all should be down there. I believe 121 for 3 hours. Yeah, because people understandably go, you know, I've got a mate who can do it for 50 quid or something like that, or who wants to do it for free, which, you know, is, yeah, I can see why it would be being resourceful, but we want a project where you're going out getting the best people, where you're paying them a fair rate, and everyone's happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. So when people come through, they make their application, it would go to the creative team, and they would, you know, start shortlisting applications. What's that process, and how's the decision made on who gets the funding? Yeah,
it's a really good question, because yeah, I can offer some insight in how we do it. Is it's weighted, so we score each question out of 5. There's 3 fundamental questions, which is your bio, your project summary, and your impact. And then we'll have a couple of questions for DID and MOBO, where we ask you which business advice sessions, so this is for your mentorship, you've chosen, you want to justify those, and a risk register as well, because as we know, it's a very uncertain time at the moment, so you've got to kind of think about that as well. We want to see you thinking about that and considering those risks. So we score all those out, and it kind of adds up to, you know, about 75% the application, about 25% music, or that kind of percentile. So, you know, you can have the best music in the world, but if you've written 1 or 2 lines in your application, then it's not really going to go through. So yeah, again, it's do you work hard on the application, make sure a friend reads it through for you, write in your own voice as well. You know, you don't need to kind of come across all formal or too unprofessional. Yeah, we just want to hear you as kind of a project manager talk us through what the process is and what you mean to deliver with this project.
Excellent. And after it's kind of done that, does it then go to like a panel and split out with the charity's hands who gets funded after that? Is that correct?
That's right. So after we've assessed them all in-house, what we do is we look for eligibility. So we really want you to look at the guidelines. These are PDF files that are available on the application form or on the web pages as well. So have a look at those. Make sure you're not asking for stuff like, it's individual to each fund, but make sure you're not asking for stuff like, you know, car insurance or laptops as well, because if we see something we can't fund on that particular scheme, then we'll just have to reject it, unfortunately, at the first hurdle. So you want to make sure you're within those criteria that we've built for you, because each fund suits a particular need and objective. So yeah, if they pass the checks and if it's a well-developed application, which is received a high mark, we pass these on to an independent panel of musicians, music academics, music industry folk, and mentors and experts within the field who make that final decision on whether you should receive funding or not. So yeah. Awesome.
That's great, Barnaby. I think that's a really great overview of the creative programme, the breadth of support that it kind of some great examples and of how we've helped the Scottish music community in particular, so it resonates. I think that's really cool for people to kind of see that. So I just want to say, thanks for your time. What we'll also be doing is Barnaby and the team have written, some great FAQs and guides that we'll be including in this kind of chat as well. So definitely have a read through them and sign up to our newsletter for all the different updates as well.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time, Barnaby. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, and just to say, you know, like as David's mentioned, you know, it's competitive funding, but if you don't get it the first time, go for it again. Have an advice call with us, and learn from it and keep on applying, because it's a really good thing to receive funding. So yeah, keep working for it.
Well, thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, David.